Bob, you are currently the co-host of What's Good, which is an NPR podcast.
Yep, it's What's Good with Stretch and Bobbito.
There we
go.
It's
the second season. We started in 2017, and we just ripping and running this season with interviews with Rakim and Beth Ann Hardison and Edgardo Miranda Rodriguez and Erykah Badu and Lenny Kravitz, and we just interviewed Maimouna Youssef, and we got some others in the can, that we're about to drop.
What's the biggest difference in the radio show versus the podcast? Is there any difference?
Well, our 90s radio show was a mixed show where Stretch and I played music, blended the songs to each other. Our podcast is interview based. We do play 2 songs for our artists to get reactions from them, and we do play music to help the narrative. Like if Rakim mentions his first album, we play a song off of it, but it's not like we're DJing. We're trying to get our interviewees to feel comfortable and share narratives that are compelling, unique, interesting, and hopefully, our pitch on the platform is that you get the untold stories. And I think we've been achieving that time and time again, because Stretch and I are far from your stereotypical NPR journalist, far cry. In fact, it took them about 1.5 years from the moment when they said, "Oh, it'd be great to have you on our platform," to the show actually happening. We had to go through a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of non-believers internally, and then we had evangelists and advocates internally as well. So eventually, the show hit the light of day and got amazing feedback, very diverse audience, which NPR was seeking, and that's one of the reasons why they brought us on board, because they knew that we would bring people of color, we would bring hip hop heads, we would bring some younger people.
Because I also see this, I see What's Good as being the way the Cosby Show came onto NBC, mm-hmm. and the way that NBC was structured at that time, there was no black family show, or shows that depicted African Americans in a very positive light. Mm-hmm. I feel you guys kind of doing the same thing with NPR, kind of bringing a diverse cultural perspective to a network that traditionally, I would say, they've never really targeted mostly to African Americans or people of color. I
mean, they did have the Ali Shaheed Muhammad show, and they have Code Switch, and they have a bunch of other podcasts on the platform. I think them bringing us on board because we have a built-in following, and because we're not just hip hop. We had some offers to do podcasts in the past, but mostly they were like, okay, do 90s hip hop. I was like, oh, we already did that. We did that pretty well, So I think the beauty of what NPR provided was that we could have a Linda Sarsour, one of the founders of the Women's March, who is an advocate for Arab Muslim rights in the United States and beyond. We could have Edgardo Miranda Rodriguez, a graphic novelist, but someone who's also an activist and frontline to stop the bombing in Vieques, Puerto Rico, and frontline to provide support for PR post Hurricane Maria. We could have Rosie Perez along with Hayes, her husband, who's a legend in his own right. As a graphic artist, as an art director, and a graffiti writer. And Rosie Perez, legendary actress and actor and producer, and and so we've had a great mix of people. We had Dave Chappelle and Stevie Wonder on our show. It's like,
ain't bad.
Yeah. So very proud of that.
To wrap up the interview, I asked 2 questions at the end of every show of OPP. Yeah. What are 3 podcasts that you listen to that we should be listening to?
I can't tell you one. And it's a point of contention with NPR when they first brought us on board. They were like, "Oh, you gotta listen to podcasts," and I told them, I was like, "Look, podcast is just a different wrapping right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, you could take a corn muffin, and you can put it in saran wrap, you could put it in a container, you can put it in Tupperware, or you can put it in aluminum foil, you know, but it's still a corn muffin inside. And to me, you know, the style that me and Stretch present and our thought processes and our experiences and our education and, you know, and those of our guests, that's a beautiful, hearty, like wholesome meal. How you wrap that is up to you, right? So I didn't really feel the need to listen to other podcasts because I've been interviewing people since 1989. You know, I started writing for The Source back in '89, and you know, I started with the radio show in 1990, and I started writing for Vibe magazine in 1994. You know, I had already interviewed Michael Jordan, Shaka Khan, Gil Scott-Heron, Isaac Hayes, Dan Marino. I was a halftime reporter for the New York Knicks back in 2006 to 2007. So I got like 30 years
of journalism experience.
Yeah. So, you know, and I'm a full-time parent. That's my priority. You know, like I got to take care of my wife, got to take care of my son. You know, I got to take care of me. Third, you know, so I haven't read a book in I don't know how long. Just haven't had time. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a DJ at the same time. I'm an NPR journalist at the same time. I produce a full court 21 1-on-5 basketball tournament in 20 plus cities in 4 continents. You know, I do a lot in one day. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I mean, that's not to say that you know, there aren't phenomenal podcasts out there that warrant to be heard. I just haven't.
It's 24 hours in a day.
I haven't had. I mean, I'll get to that point, and they're not going anywhere. They're going to be online. I'll listen to them. So my apologies if I can't.
No, it's okay.
Suggest 3. What's the next question? Because you're running out of time.
The last question is, why do you podcast?
Yeah, I think ideally in my 50s, when NPR approached me and Stretch, I didn't even really know what a podcast was. It was like a funny name for me, you know. I was hoping that they were going to put us on FM radio. They have 900 member stations. So my thought was like, oh, word, like we could be back on the radio, you know, doing interviews with interesting guests and stuff. And getting people to laugh and cry and provoke thought, which is what we've been doing. The beauty of the podcast is, you know, in contrast to me and Stretch's radio show in the 1990s, where we were on Thursday nights, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. And if you didn't stay up, or if your boy didn't tape it, you just missed it. Whereas with the podcast space, it's kind of cool. It's audio on demand. You listen to it when you want. You can download it. You can stream it. You know, and so, you know, I feel like our audience is maximized in terms of outreach, and I feel like at this point, because we haven't like broken top 5 podcasts on iTunes and stuff like that. I think we hit top 20 last year at one point. But you know, because it's not like the number 1 podcast, it's still like people's secret. You know, like they listen to it, they talk about it on social media and they share it, but it's like, it's not like I'm getting stopped on the street every day. I mean, it happens, but you know, where it's like, yo, I love your podcast. I stopped you. Yeah, I mean, you know, I get that, you know, but I'm just saying it's not like, so I think the joy of you missed it in the 90s was a beautiful marketing strategy, because it really elevated our status, you know, to have this sort of like cult following. You know, we're not going to get a cult following for What's Good with Stretch and Bobbito, because it's on the biggest news platform in the United States. They get like, I don't know, like 200 million
streams like, and downloads.
Between, you know, our show doesn't, but I'm just saying like NPR, news.org, 900 member radio stations, you know, cumulatively have like an immense amount of listeners or a reach. Yeah. So and maybe at some point we get to that, but in the meantime, I really love what we're doing, and we just keep on getting better. This season is better than last season.
Bobbito, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you, dog.
All right,
I really do.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, peace.